Welcome back to my channel. Now, I've been using a lot of AI tools during the last couple of months, mostly for my day job in search and marketing, but also for some more private creative endeavors like tabletop gaming or game development in general. And I want to make a series of videos and share some of my learnings here on this channel. And today we'll start with something very simple. We're going to start talk about ChatGPT. Everybody's talking about it right now because it's kind of single-handedly transforming the whole content industry. And I want to show you how this tool works, what you can do with it. And today we start with something very simple for the absolute beginner really. And I want to show you how to build a template to write newspaper articles in ChatGPT. So let's just jump into it. If you have never used this tool before, I got you as well. All you got to do is to go to openai.com. You find a link here somewhere which says try ChatGPT. You're gonna make an account and then you can use it for free. And it will look like this. And all you gotta do now is ask it a question. Something simple, for example, like, why is the sky blue? And it will tell you something about the atmosphere and wavelengths of light and things like that, I suppose. And it will probably has the right answer for you. Most people use it like that. Very simple stuff, but you can do so much more with it. And I want to demonstrate a little bit of that. So I prepared something here. Right, I told it, write a newspaper article about Starlink, right? And this is already pretty good, right? If you hit pause, you can read that for yourself. It is okay. It is kind of structured like a newspaper article would be, but it's still a little bit like something somebody in high school would write. So you can improve that immediately when you say, write a newspaper article about Starlink published by and written in the style of the New York Times. And you get a much better style. Here. In recent years, the race to provide fast, reliable internet to every corner of the globe has intensified. Right? Much better style immediately. But it's still not really, I would say, what I would think of as a newspaper article, because this is still more like something you would write in school about Starlink, because nothing happened here, right? Newspaper articles are mostly written because something specifically happened recently, and that's not really in here. So let's go a little further. Now, I have written this prompt. It looks a little bit more complicated, but it really isn't. We have the same sentence here again, write a newspaper article about Starlink, but then mention these main points here, right? That the fact that Starlink has just recently reached this number of Starlink satellites in orbit. I wanted to talk about Elon Musk and SpaceX. It probably wouldn't have done that anyway, but I want specifically to make sure. I want to explain the Starlink mission, like their mission statement, what the company is overall trying to accomplish here. And it should remind the viewer that there's a link to a website where you can view the live position of all satellites, right? And I don't even need to write that out in a sentence. I just throw those points in here and say the main points and themes of the article are the following. And this article is much better. Also, I've introduced something which we really don't need here, but I wanted to show it off now, because you can kind of, like in programming, declare variables, like author equals New York Times. And now in this sentence, I just put in here author, and it knows I mean the New York Times. Like in this simple example, we don't really need that. But I wanted to show you that you can do that, right? And this article is already pretty good, right? It's kind of styled in the way a newspaper article would be. It has kind of an introduction and a conclusion, because ChatGPT already knows what the style of a newspaper article would be. But if you want to make sure we can take even more control over this article. Now, in my case, I worked in journalism. I know the structure of a newspaper article. But in case you don't forget that you have an AI at your disposal and you can ask it, right? I prepared a question here. I try to, take the most brain-dead question you could possibly come up with. What are the smaller parts of a newspaper article called? Because that's the kind of question you have to ask if you know nothing about it. And ChatGPT will tell you. Headline, byline, lead, body, it explains what the parts are. And you can ask it even more questions about how to write newspaper articles. And what you can do then is you can just feed it back to the machine. So you can take something like that here, what is the lead, and build that into your prompt if you want to make sure that the machine is doing exactly that. And this would look like this. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, but not really. It is still the same thing we have done before. So here we have our initial sentence. Prepare to write a format, newspaper, article about topic, styling, published by and written in the style of the New York Times in a business-like tone. Now, I've used more variables here, and I'll show you in a minute why. Because now we can just change these words, but we don't need to change this sentence ever again. We also don't need to change this. This is really the structure of the article. Again, this might not be necessary here because it already knows how to write a newspaper article. But I want to make sure and take direct control over the structure of the text. So I tell it what it's supposed to do. Write a headline, a byline, a dateline. Then write a lead, meaning a brief summary of the article's main points. I copied that directly out of the question we have asked before. And the rest is just like that, right? Then write the article's body. The first part of the body consists of the most important facts. The second part consists of more background information. Then write a wrap-up conclusion, right? This is kind of my template. This part always stays the same. And then all I need to do to make a new article is change these keywords and the main points here. Now, something like that you can save somewhere in a text file and just use it again and again. That's what it's really here for. And I think the outcome here is really good. In this case, it did take it a little literal, what I wanted. So it has these parts here, lead, body, wrap up. Now, if you want to publish that, this needs to go, right? And if you don't want it to put it in there in the first place, you can probably tell it to not do that. But I wanted to do that because it makes it easy to see. You could also use this if you want to automate all this with the ChatGPT API. You could write yourself a little script, for example, that publishes this directly to a WordPress blog or something like that. And now that the AI already puts these things in these little containers, lead, body, wrap up, you could also then automatically publish these parts on different sides of your website. But this is really a little bit over the scale of this video right now. But the outcome here in general, I think, is really good. Let's just read a little bit of it. SpaceX Starlink program has successfully launched over 3,700 satellites into orbit as part of its mission to provide high-speed internet access to the most remote parts of the globe. With founder Elon Musk at the helm, the company continues to push forward. And it did exactly what I asked it to do, right? Remember, we have said the author is the New York Times and it's supposed to sound business-like. And this is exactly what it did here, right? It uses words like founder, company, mission to provide high-speed internet access. This is all very business-like language, exactly what I wanted to do. If you want, press pause and read it for yourself. I think it's pretty good. I also like how it's using the number like over 3,700 instead of the exact number, because that's what a human would do. This is all very nice. But now I want to demonstrate why I made this template in the first place. Again, you can use this for any kind of article, but if you don't like this, you also now have the power to change it by just changing a few words. For example, all I need to do now is say author equals cool teenage magazine, mood edgy, and we get something completely different. Elon Musk, out of this world Starlight Network. It's a bold vision that's turning heads, and we've got the inside scoop on what it's all about. Totally different style, kind of what I ask it to do, really cool. One of my favorite here is this one. Author, children's book, mood, teacher-like and overly compassionate. And it reads like this. Discover the amazing world of Starlink satellites. Have you ever heard of Starlink satellites? These amazing machines are part of a mission to connect the world through high-speed internet access, no matter where you are. This is exactly what I wanted, and the whole text is kind of written for children, explains things step by step. It's really cool for this kind of stuff. And if you want to push it a little further, let's try this one out, right? Author, conspiracy blog, mood, paranoid and frightened. The terrifying truth about Starlink satellites. Have you heard about Elon Musk's Starlink satellites? This so-called Internet for Everyone project might seem harmless on the surface, but the truth is far more sinister. And this is just perfect, exactly what I wanted it to do. Especially things like this so-called Internet for Everyone, right? This is how a blogger would write. You won't find a sentence like that in the New York Times. So this works very well. Although it's just for inspiration, I'm not saying that this template is perfect or anything like that. I'm working on something else for myself, which I may publish in the future. But for now, I just wanted to give you a little inspiration and show you what you can do with it, right? And yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. I'm going to make a few videos in the future about this whole topic, more about ChatGPT and how you can combine it with other services, a little bit more about image generation, which I find very interesting. For now, if you want to know more, take a look at my Twitter channel maybe. I'm using this a lot recently, and I share all kinds of stuff about AI and how to use it and news about all of that. Yeah, and with that, I guess for today, Alexitopia signing off.